Rain cracked like shattered glass on the rooftops of Lagos, slashing through the thick neon mist that clung to the city like a bruise. Beneath the rusting overhang of a padlocked newspaper kiosk, 17-year-old Amara Rose Nochukwu crouched, knees drawn to her chest, her body shivering through layers of damp. Her dress, once the soft yellow of ripe mango, had long since faded to the color of old dust. The cardboard she'd wedged between her and the kiosk wall sagged in the wind like a dying flag. Her back ached, her stomach growled, but worse than all of that was the emptiness behind her ribs, that hollow, aching absence where hope used to live. She had learned to count in days since her father's funeral, 1889, 89 since the final spate of dirt hit the coffin, 89 since her stepmother Nkichi had hissed with tears still wet on her cheeks, "You should have gone with him, little witch." 89 days since Amara had become a ghost on her own street. She clutched a plastic bag, crinkled and thin. Inside it, only a threadbare Bible, a blouse with torn seams, and a folded note her father had once slipped into her school bag. "Keep your head up, Amara. Even the stars can't shine without darkness." Except Lagos hadn't shown her stars in weeks. Only clouds, only noise, only survival. Every day was a test of invisible math. How many smiles for a sachet of water? How long standing by traffic before someone tossed half a meat pie? And every night was a gamble. Which awning would stay dry? Which alley would stay safe? Still, even ghosts could dream. It was hunger that pulled her to Tafawa Balewa Square that morning. Hunger, and a whisper she'd heard while huddled beneath a newsstand. Something about a trade fair, free samples, big companies, job opportunities. One vendor needed 10 hands yesterday. Someone had said that was enough. Her feet blistered beneath worn-out slippers as she wove between Danfoss coughing exhaust like dragons. The city roaring around her. Tafawa Balewa Square was chaos wrapped in color, banners snapping in the wind, Afrobeats clashing from speakers, the scent of peppered suya tangling with gasoline and roasted chindot. For a moment, just a heartbeat, she forgot she was hungry. She forgot she had nowhere to sleep. But Lagos had a way of snapping you back. The first vendor, a broad man with a phone store, barely let her finish. "Look at you," he scoffed. "My customers will think I employ beggars." At a food truck, she offered to wash plates. No hygiene card. The chef barked. Then no work. 12 stalls. 15. 18. The word no ricocheted through her chest like stones in a tin can. As the sun dipped low, the lights of the fairground flickered on, stretching long halogen shadows across the pavement. She was slipping between 2 empty crate stacks when her left foot nudged something soft and heavy. She froze, dropped to her knees. Years of street instinct sharpened her senses instantly. It was a wallet, black, leather, rich-smelling, smooth, the kind of thing people in glass offices carried. She flipped it open. Her breath caught. 30 crisp US $100 bills gleamed. Like fallen heaven, her hands trembled. She stared at the money, then back at the crowd beyond the crates. No one had seen. No one knew. She saw visions, an actual bed, her own door, her own lock, a sewing machine by a window, the means to leave this life behind. Then something slipped from the wallet, a card, a face, a man, mid-40s, stern, elegant, silver at his temples. The kind of confidence that made rooms fall silent. Below the photo, Mr. Aguchukudi, Okoro Chairman, and CEO Okoro Global Holdings, and beneath it, an address in Ikoyi, and a private phone number. Her pulse quickened. $4,000 at the parallel market rate. That was over 4 million naira. Enough to rent a face me for 2 years, pay for tailoring school, maybe even stock a tiny shop. Why not keep it? What had life given her but humiliation? Hadn't the world already robbed her blind? But then, her mother's voice rose, soft but clear, as if carried by the rain on the corrugated roof above her. Wealth built on what isn't yours will always tremble. Her eyes burned. She remembered that calloused thumb brushing her cheek, remembered the only time her mother had slapped her for stealing biscuits from a neighbor. She tucked the wallet beneath her dress, felt it press against her ribs like a question she didn't want to answer, and then she walked away from the lights, away from the chance to vanish. She found shelter behind a plywood fence near the Ido Bridge, where rusted steel rods jutted like broken fingers into the night sky. She didn't sleep, not really, not with the war raging in her chest. One voice screamed, "Keep it, Escape. Buy peace. You'll never get this chance again. Another whispered. You're still her daughter. Don't forget. By morning soaked, freezing, starved, Amara made her decision. She would return it, no matter what. She had no phone, no transport, no friend in Ikoyi. The address was nearly 30 kilometers away. Her slippers were already falling apart. Her stomach had gone hollow. Her legs ached from the day before. She looked at the sky, still clouded, but no longer cruel, and whispered, "Let my legs be enough." Then she stepped onto the flooded road, and walked. By midday, the sky over Lagos was a bruised grey, sagging low as if the clouds themselves had grown tired of watching. Amara stood at the edge of Balagan Market, her arms wrapped tightly around her chest, her fingers pressing the stolen heat of the wallet against her ribs. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. Her head swam with exhaustion. Her knees wobbled beneath her weight, and the air stung with spice and sweat and scorched metal. The world buzzed around her, traders shouting over prices, bus horns blaring like wounded animals, children chasing each other through narrow passageways stacked with plastic basins, fake handbags, and ripe mangoes. She drifted through it like a shadow. The address on the card was clear: 12 Milverton Crescent, Ikoyi. Ikoyi. She'd only heard about it in school and whispers. A place where the air smelled clean, where walls didn't peel, and cars gleamed like polished glass. The thought of walking there felt like dreaming of touching the moon. Still, she tried. "Please, sir," she said to a man unloading sacks of rice onto a truck. "I need 2,000 naira for transport. I found something and I want to return it." The man looked her up and down, took in the tattered dress, the cracked slippers, the desperation in her eyes. "Found what?" He grunted. "A wallet," she said, softly. "With money." She hesitated, then nodded. The man let out a dry laugh and hoisted a sack onto his shoulder. "Ah, so God finally remembered you, and now you want to spit in his face. Use it. Escape. Nobody go help you again like this." He walked off before she could respond. The next woman, a plantain chip seller, heard her plea and narrowed. Her eyes returned to who? "A man in Ikoyi. I have his address. I want to give it back." The woman snorted. "Poor like this and you day return money. You like suffering. Maybe your head." "No, correct." Another trader joined in, laughing. "Let me see the wallet. Maybe we go help you." Amara stepped back, clutching her chest. "No, I just need help getting there." "Then use your leg," the woman snapped. This girl thinks we be moo-moo. She wandered for hours. Every rejection cut a little deeper. By early afternoon, she collapsed by a gutter, her legs unable to carry her another step. Tears threatened, but she blinked them back. She opened the wallet again. The money was still there, clean, crisp, untouched. She could rent a room in Mushin, start small, eat 3 times a day. No more fighting rats for shelter. "This is mercy," a voice in her head whispered. "God finally saw you." But another voice, quieter, gentler, stronger, answered, "If you take what's not yours, how will your story ever be clean?" She bowed her head. Her mother's voice again. "We may be poor, but we are not thieves." Her stomach howled in protest. Her slippers were torn. Her skin ached from cold pavement. But she stood, and she walked. She passed through Idemota, then CMS, then climbed the bridge that led to the island, asking for directions at each turn. Most ignored her. Some shook their heads. One Okada rider said, "If you want reach Ikoyi on foot, you need the spirit of Elijah." She smiled faintly. "Then may that spirit carry me." The sun beat down. Lagos shimmered like a hot plate. Sweat stung her eyes. By dusk, she reached the edge of Falomo. Her legs were jelly. Her lips cracked. Her eyes red-rimmed. A security guard at a luxury cafe frowned when she asked for directions. "This is Milverton Crescent," he said. "Not far." But then he looked her over, brow creasing. "Who you dey find?" She showed him the card. "Mr. Agu." He raised his eyebrows, but said nothing more, just nodded in the direction of the street. She limped the rest of the way. When she reached number 12, she stopped dead. The gate was taller than any she'd ever seen. Black iron with gold-plated initials. Okoro cameras glared from the walls. Like unblinking eyes, she stared at her reflection in the polished metal. Dirty, ragged, broken, still. She reached out and pressed the buzzer. A voice crackled through the intercom. "Yes." Her lips trembled. "Please, ... I need to speak to Mr. Agu. It's important." A pause. "And who are you?" I found something that belongs to him, a wallet. More silence then. Hold on. Minutes passed. Then the small gate opened, and 2 security men stepped out. One was short and heavyset, the other tall and lean. Both looked like they didn't smile often. The taller one eyed her with disgust. You say you get wet and belong to Ogre? She nodded quickly. Yes, sir. I just want to return it. The short one barked a laugh. You see, wallet for gutter, and one use am enter paradise. They laughed again. Amara didn't. She reached beneath her dress and pulled out the wallet, holding it tightly in both hands. It's his. I just want to give it back. The taller man stepped forward and reached for it. She pulled it back. Please, I must give it to him myself. You day craze. The short one snapped. You think, say ogre, get time for dirty girl way, find miracle. If you know Komat now, the tall one added, we go call police. She didn't move. The gate slammed shut. She stood there. The sun vanished. The wind picked up. People passed and stared. Some muttered. Some laughed. She sat down, knees drawn up, arms wrapped around the wallet pressed to her chest. The pavement was cold. Her body shook. But her resolve didn't. She didn't care if she slept outside. She didn't care if no one believed her. She would not leave until she saw him. The night dragged on. She dozed against the gate, waking each time a car roared by or someone barked at her to go find your home. She had no home, but she had this purpose. By dawn, the light stretched thin across the sky. The streets shimmered with early traffic. Somewhere in the distance, a mosque crackled to life with morning prayer. Then the gates creaked open. Dark SUVs began to pull out. Amara rose, legs trembling. She stepped in front of the lead car. The driver honked wildly. Guards burst out again, yelling, "Get out of the road, are you mad?" But she didn't move. Then, the car door opened, then he stepped out. Mr. Agu, Chukwudi Okoro, the same face from the ID, the same sharp suit, the same calm eyes that held weight and silence like a judge. He looked at her, this girl barefoot, sun-darkened, trembling. "Who are you?" he asked. Amara tried to speak, but no words came at first. Then, finally, she lifted the wallet with both hands. "This, belongs to you." Mr. Agu Okoro didn't speak at first. He simply stared, not with anger, not even with curiosity, but with a sort of calculation, as if trying to figure out what story could possibly explain the mud on her feet, the swollen, blistered hands, the wallet held like a holy object. Amara didn't lower her eyes. She was too tired for shame. He stepped closer, the soles of his leather shoes silent against the clean stone. One of the guards tried to speak, but Mr. Agu raised a single finger and they fell quiet. "You say this is mine," he said softly. "Yes, sir." "You found it?" "Yes, at the trade fair. 3 days ago. You walked here." Her throat tightened. "I had no fare, no phone, no one to help." "You didn't spend anything?" She shook her head. "Not 1 naira." The guard behind him scoffed, but Mr. Agu didn't flinch. He took the wallet from her gently and opened it. He counted silently. 30 bills, all crisp, all accounted for. Then he pulled out the ID card, flipping it over in his hand, eyes narrowing at the faded edge. Even the emergency contact card he kept hidden behind the last fold was still there. He looked back at her, then turned to his security chief. "Call off the convoy," he said. "But sir, the meeting, cancel it." But Mr. Agu's tone sharpened only slightly. "I said cancel." He turned to Amara. "Come inside." Her knees buckled slightly from shock, but she caught herself. One of the guards muttered under his breath, but no one dared stop her as she followed Mr. Agu through the towering black gate. Beyond it, the world changed. The compound was pristine, lawns cut to exact symmetry, roses blooming along marbled paths. A fountain gurgled like a glass sculpture come alive in the center of the drive. She walked slowly, afraid her bare dust-caked feet would dirty the polished interlocking bricks. The front door of the mansion opened without a sound. Inside was a different universe, cool, quiet, scented with jasmine and wood polish, marble floors, high ceilings, a chandelier glittering like a captured constellation. "Ijoma," Mr. Agu called without raising his voice. A maid appeared at once, her eyes going wide when she saw Amara. "Take her to the guest room. Warm bath, clothes, a proper meal." "Sir," Ijoma said, uncertain. "She is very city." "I know. That's why I said bath," he replied calmly. Amara followed the woman upstairs. Her legs screamed, her head swam, her arms felt like lead. She wasn't sure any of it was real until the bathroom door closed behind her and she saw her reflection in the mirror, a stranger. Then she touched the faucet, and warm water flowed. She undressed slowly, as if the grime on her skin might protest leaving. The bath was like liquid gold, heat soaking into her bones, the ache loosening from her muscles, one knot at a time. She scrubbed until the water turned grey. When she finally stepped out, wrapped in a cotton towel that smelled of lavender, clean tears rolled down her cheeks. No sobs, just silent overflow. Ijoma returned with clothes, a simple lilac dress, new underwear. She even braided Amara's hair with swift, gentle fingers. Downstairs, a tray waited jollof rice, 2 pieces of grilled chicken, and a tall glass of chilled malt. Amara didn't eat. She stared. "You okay?" Ijoma asked, almost whispering. Amara finally blinked and nodded. Then she said a prayer her mother once taught her. "Thank you, Lord, for daily bread and those kind enough to offer it." Only after that did she eat, slowly, reverently. When the last grain of rice disappeared, Ijoma guided her to a lounge overlooking the water. Sunlight danced off the lagoon, gold on blue dot. Mr. Agu sat near the window, reading something on his tablet. He looked up as she entered, and for the first time, he smiled. "Better." "Yes, sir," she whispered. "Come, sit." She took the edge of a plush chair, barely letting her weight settle. He studied her, not like a predator, more like a scientist who's just discovered a rare species and wants to understand it. "What's your name?" "Amara Hozino Ashuku." "Where are your parents?" "My mother died when I was 10. My father passed 3 months ago. And since then, my stepmother, Nkeichi, she kicked me out, said I was a witch. I had nowhere else to go. And you've been surviving." How Amara looked down. "I beg sometimes. I wash plates if they let me. I sleep wherever I can." He was silent for a moment, his jaw tight. "And yet," he said quietly, "with all that pain, you returned my wallet." "I almost didn't," she admitted. "One voice told me to keep it, but another, my mother's voice, said, 'We may be poor, but we are not thieves.'" Mr. Agu nodded slowly. "Do you know," he began, "that for the past 2 years, I've been running an experiment." She looked up, confused. "I would leave wallets different places, full of money, always with my ID. I wanted to see if anyone would return them. Not one person did. Until you." Amara's eyes widened. "You did it on purpose." He smiled faintly. "I lost faith in people, in honesty. My mother, Mama Nunim, used to say that a man's wealth is measured not by his bank account, but by the weight of his conscience. I started wondering if anyone still lived by that." He stood and walked to the bookshelf, pulled out a framed photo, a regal older woman in traditional attire, proud eyes, strong shoulders. She believed people still had good in them, that one day someone would prove it. He turned to her. "And then you knocked on my gate." Amara didn't know what to say. She sat there, feeling the couch hug her body, a sensation so foreign it made her dizzy. "I want to help you," he said finally, "not out of pity, but because you reminded me of something I had almost forgotten." Her voice was small. "What's that, sir?" "That integrity doesn't live in mansions. It walks barefoot sometimes." The room went quiet again. Amara looked at her hands, clean now, but still shaking. "I don't deserve anything," she said. "I just did what was right." "And that," he said, "is why you deserve everything." She didn't understand, not fully, but something inside her, something long buried beneath hunger and fear, stirred. Hope. Not the fragile kind that flickers, but the quiet kind that roots deep. Mr. Agu placed a file on the coffee table. "Rest tonight," he said. "Tomorrow, I'll show you what comes next." She nodded. And for the first time in years, she slept on a bed that didn't leak, beneath a roof that didn't threaten to cave in. She didn't know what morning would bring, but for now, she let herself believe. Maybe, just maybe, her story had taken a new turn. The morning after her first sleep in a real bed felt like waking in someone else's life. Amara lay still, staring up at the high ceiling, sunlight streaming through arched windows onto the soft cream duvet. The silence was luxurious. No Danfo drivers shouting, no gutter stink, no fear of being stepped over. She didn't move, not out of exhaustion, but reverence. A knock interrupted the stillness. "Come in," she said, voice soft. Ijoma entered with a breakfast tray, yam porridge, sliced mangoes, and cold zobo juice. She set it down with a respectful smile. Oga says when you've eaten, he'll receive you in the study. Thank you, Amara replied, and meant it. She ate slowly, savoring every bite. Each spoonful reminded her that this was no dream. Her skin was clean. Her hair was neatly braided. The simple lavender dress fit perfectly. She looked for the first time in her life, dignified. Downstairs, Mr. Agu was waiting in a sunlit study, shelves lined with books and framed accolades. A portrait of his mother, Mama Nunim, watched over the room like a quiet guardian. "Morning, Amara," he said warmly. "Good morning, sir." He gestured to the chair across from him. She sat, her hands folded carefully in her lap. "I wanted to thank you again," he said. "What you did wasn't just rare, it was exceptional. I only did what I thought was right, even when it made no sense to the world. That takes strength." She lowered her eyes. He slid a folder across the table. "I've made arrangements. This is your path forward: education, personal development, training, and eventually a role in my company." Her eyes widened. "Sir, I don't have credentials. You have the one thing that can't be taught. A clean conscience. Skills, we can train, but character, that's gold dust." Inside the folder were documents she couldn't fully understand. Admissions, onboarding forms, bank papers. "You'll be relocated to Abuja," he explained. "The property division needs new eyes. I'm assigning you to our community impact branch. You'll train, shadow our managers, and when you're ready, lead your own project." A lump formed in her throat. "Why me?" she asked. "Because you walked 30 kilometers to return something the world told you to keep. Because you remind me of the kind of leader this country needs, the kind who's already been to the bottom and never let it swallow her." She swallowed hard. "I'll try my best," he smiled. "Your best already changed my life." The days that followed were a blur of motion. She was flown to Abuja in her first plane ride ever, heart pounding as the runway vanished beneath her. At the airport, a black sedan with tinted windows waited, the driver calling her Ma. Her new apartment was a furnished 2-bedroom in Joby, hardwood floors, cold AC, a stocked fridge. Her name printed on the lease. A personal tutor visited, each morning teaching business, writing, budgeting, and executive communication. In the afternoons, she shadowed senior staff at Okoro Global, watching meetings where millions were discussed in polished boardrooms. Ijoma transferred with her by request, became a sister figure. At night, they cooked together, laughed, and read novels Agu had sent to sharpen her inner compass. She met with a finishing school consultant twice a week. How to walk, how to speak with authority, how to dress. "Shoulders back," the woman said. "Chin up. Purpose does not beg permission." Amara absorbed it all, thirsty, relentless, and still. Something tugged at her. Nkeichi. The woman who had tossed her into the street like trash, who burned her books, who called her a curse. One morning, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. "Amara," whispered the voice on the line. "It's Mama Agnes, from Mushin." Her pulse jumped. "She's sick," Mama Agnes continued. "Nkeichi, bad cough, can't move much, nobody visits, thought you should know." She didn't respond right away. That name still burned. But later that night, as she lay under clean sheets, she remembered the night under the plywood fence, the cold, the shame, the hunger. She booked a flight to Lagos. The compound looked smaller than she remembered, the paint flaking off like dried regret. Inside, Nkeichi lay curled on a mat, eyes sunken, skin sallow, a plastic bucket beside her. The smell of sickness hung in the air. She looked up as Amara entered and flinched. "Have you come to curse me?" the woman croaked. Amara knelt beside her. Slowly, gently, she took the frail hand that once shoved her into darkness. "No," she said, "I came to forgive you." Nkeichi's eyes filled, but the tears didn't fall. Amara reached into her handbag and pulled out a pamphlet, a private clinic, and a deposit slip. "You'll be treated," she said simply. "No one deserves to rot like this, not even you." Nkeichi couldn't. Speaker only nodded, small and shaking. Amara stood. Redemption doesn't always arrive in thunder. Sometimes it comes in whispers, in the absence of hatred. Outside, she inhaled deeply. Something had been released, and something new had taken root. Back in Abuja, Mr. Agu called her into his office. "You've grown," he said, "only because you gave me room." "Not room, a mirror." She nodded. "I want to give you a project," he said, handing her a dossier. Affordable housing, you'll pilot, you'll design it, build the team, own the vision. Her hands shook as she opened the file. What should we call it? He asked. She didn't hesitate. Jardangst arose, she said. For my mother, he smiled. 6 months later, she stood on a cleared lot, construction tape fluttering in the wind. Children ran nearby with barefoot joy. Women cooked on firewood beside leaking roofs. This had been her world, but now, she was here to change it. Blueprints in hand, a team behind her, a future in front. As she stepped over the threshold of what would become the first model home, a single thought anchored her. I am not here by luck. I am here because I didn't forget who I was, even when the world tried to erase me. The sun glared white over the freshly painted rooftops of the Jardangst Rose housing complex, where rows of pastel homes gleamed like new hope. Children dashed between clotheslines and doorsteps, laughing, barefoot, unaware they were running across the blueprint of someone's redemption. Amara stood before the crowd gathered under the ceremonial tent. Cameras flashed, journalists murmured into microphones, officials shifted in their seats, gold pins glinting in the heat, but all eyes were on her. Her navy blue power suit was crisp, tailored to fit a woman who had learned to walk with purpose. Her braids were pinned back, her chin high, her voice clear. She stepped to the podium. No notes, no rehearsed speech. Once slept beside a Dumotor bridge on flattened cardboard, she began. The silence was immediate. A girl with no roof, no food, no future. Just the sound of rain and fear and hunger. Mouths opened slightly in disbelief. They had heard rumors, but hearing her say it was different. One day, I found a wallet. $3,000, more than enough to change my life. But I remembered my mother's words. We don't steal another man's peace. She scanned the crowd. Even the most jaded officials were still now. That choice didn't make me rich overnight. It made me tired. It made me mocked. It made me walk through 30 kilometers of doubt. But it also brought me to the gate of a man who saw past my dust and into my dignity. She turned slightly toward the front row where Mr. Agu sat, arms folded, eyes proud. He didn't smile, but his gaze said everything. Today, she continued, these homes are proof that integrity has dividends, that honesty still builds, that your past is not a prison, it is the forge where your strength is born. Applause broke, slow but rising. Journalists scribbled, phones tilted forward. Children clapped without knowing why. She stepped down as the Minister of Housing offered a few polished words, praising public-private synergy and youth-led innovation. But the day didn't belong to him, it belonged to her. After the ribbon was cut and the keys distributed to the first 10 families, Amara walked the corridors with the children. She ran her hand along the walls. Fresh paint, real beds, clean water, dignity disguised as brick. Later, at the rooftop reception in the company's Abuja office, a soft jazz band played beneath strings of fairy lights. Waiters in white passed, finger foods on silver trays. The skyline twinkled beyond the glass railings. Amara stood at the edge, a glass of pineapple juice in hand, taking it all in the air. The light, the miracle of being seen not as a burden but as a builder. Mr. Agu approached, holding a slim leather case. I have something for you, he said. She turned to him, already knowing this was no ordinary gesture. He opened the case. Inside was a single brass key, resting on black velvet. She looked up, startled. This key opens every Okoro Global Project office across Nigeria, he said. Effective immediately, you are now Director of National Social Impact. She blinked. Sir, ... I'm not sure I'm ready. You were ready the day you walked into the storm instead of away from it. She picked up the key. It was heavier than she expected. Use it wisely, he added. You've earned it. A few guests raised their glasses, others clapped. But to Amara, the moment was private, intimate, between her and a man who once dropped a wallet as a test and found in her a mirror of his mother's values. That night, back in her apartment, she stood barefoot on her balcony, holding the key up to the starlight. Below, the city buzzed with noise and ambition. But up here, it was quiet. She whispered, Mama, my hands are still clean. The sky, once indifferent, now glowed in response, not with answers, but with peace. She pressed the key to her chest. The money hadn't changed her, not the title, not the office. What changed her destiny was a decision made in the shadows, when no one was watching, when she could have taken what wasn't hers and disappeared. But she didn't. And now, she wouldn't just build houses, she'd build possibilities. Scholarships for market girls, health clinics in rural towns, apprenticeships for those deemed too dirty to dream. The seed was planted, and the garden had begun to bloom. Her life, once wrapped in silence, now spoke loudly, not in noise, but in legacy. If you watched until the end, comment the word unshakable, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with your family and friends.